Okay, we're back again with another episode of The Real Deal. I'm Sam.
I'm Nick.
I'm Naz.
And today we have Daniel Cece. Daniel?
Hey, nice to be here. Thanks
Welcome,
for having me.
welcome.
Thanks for coming. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming. I
think it's definitely long
for
overdue.
A couple months now, but I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, funny. I actually met Daniel my first year in real estate, so known him a little bit longer than these dudes. Sorry. So yeah, Daniel and I go way back. He taught me a lot about mortgages, a lot of my own personal help, has helped a lot of my clients. So yeah, definitely long overdue to get the scoop on who Daniel is.
No, it's thanks again for having me, like I said. But yeah, I'm Daniel Cece. I've been in the mortgage business for 4.5 years now. I kind of got into the business. I had a finance background at the time, and I'm like, you know what can I add to my tool belt, right? And I thought, mortgage is the perfect thing because it ties hand in hand, right? Someone needs a house, they're going to need insurance, they're going to need investments afterwards. So I kind of decided to just add it as a tool on my tool belt, but ended up becoming the main thing. So now I've been pursuing it, pretty hard, and building a great business through mortgages. It came, I think, at the craziest time too, right when COVID happened. So kind of got all the ups and downs of the business, and yeah, it's been a wild ride so far, and continue to see some good success in the future.
Very nice.
Beautiful.
So I know you've started in COVID, so maybe tell us your experience with the market, being a newer mortgage broker getting into it, and now you're more seasoned going through it.
Yeah.
Tell us your experience so far.
At the beginning, it was a pretty cool, I guess, thing because everyone was getting approved for a mortgage, a high mortgage. The only thing was they weren't able to find a house because prices were crazy, right? But now that things are starting to cool down, you start to see different things and different products that people need to take advantage of because they're not qualifying for a traditional mortgage for as much as they were previously, right? And everyone's so set on like COVID prices still that people aren't qualifying for those based on the rates, right? So it's just coming up with new techniques now, finding ways to help clients get approved with other products that maybe they didn't think of before, right? And that's another thing too, is I work with a lot of realtors to help position different products to their clients. Yeah. Right, because maybe they're not getting approved for much with their bank, but maybe there's another lender out there that can help them get maybe $100,000 more on their approval, right? What can $100,000 extra do, when they're going to put an offer in on a home, right? So it's just opening up different doors for clients and helping realtors build their business at the same time. Because if you can close an extra deal or two with another product that you never even knew existed, that's just going to help you earn a little bit more income, right? So it's just learning different tricks of the trade. That's the main thing we've been focusing on, and I've been really involved with, is just finding ways to not just tell the client, this is your rate, let's get you into an A lender. I give them the whole scope, give them everything that they need, and then they can make the decision for themselves, right? Because I always tell my clients, rate is such a small piece to you buying a home. It's just a tool. If there's another tool out there that can help you get into a home, that's what's the most important part. Because you can always refinance later and get into a rate that you ideally want.
So true.
Right? So that's what I kind of try to position to my clients now, and that's just stuff I've learned over the years.
It's not like date the rate, marry the price kind of vibes.
Yeah, pretty much, right? Because people are so heart set on having the lowest rate. Like, I want the lowest rate so they can brag to their friends or their family.
I think it's just, that's the education, that's the knowledge level, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people are regurgitators in a sense that what they hear is what they say or what they think, right?
Yeah.
So I think when all you hear in the news is, oh, interest rates are going up, going up, that's what people think it is. Yeah. People don't realize that income and down payment and everything else matters.
Yeah.
All comes into play.
Exactly.
So I think it's a lack of education.
Yeah. And most people, they go to the bank or they listen to their parents, and their parents maybe bought a house 20, 25 years ago. They don't really know the market how it is today, right?
Do you think, actually, that's a good point. Like, do you think that's the problem, is the lack of education in the marketplace? Because I think that's what we face and struggle with as realtors, right?
Yeah, that's
and
the thing I see.
People are blind to mortgages.
Yeah.
Like, so it's even worse.
A lot of people don't even know what mortgage brokers are.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know what mortgages are.
A lot of the time they think that they have to pay
introduce you
for my
to my mortgage
services
broker.
or whatever the case is, right? But to work with me is completely free, unless we have to go to an alternative lender or like a private lender. That's when there's certain fees involved. Yeah. But for the most part, like, I work with 30 lenders on the A side. So there's, clients can work with me for free. I do all the shopping for them, right? I can find the best rates. I negotiate on their behalf with the lenders. They don't, most people, they just go to the bank, get a rate, and that's it. And then they find a house, but they never negotiate that rate with the bank.
Yeah, right? I'll never recommend a bank over
Yeah.
No.
a
Well, I think
mortgage broker,
that's-
especially if you have access to the
No,
big
I
five
always
banks.
say go
It's
to a
different.
broker.
But that's where the lack of education, I think,
Yeah.
comes in,
in,
right?
yeah.
Because everyone's mentality, again, like you said, going back 20 years, that was the only place. Like, you go to
Yeah.
the bank.
You go to the bank.
That's it.
Yeah, the first thing people always ask me too is, "Oh, do I got to pay to use you?" And I always joke around and say, "You pay me whatever you feel that is I'm valued, right?" But I always just joke around, like, "Listen, my services are free. If we have to do other alternative type of lending, that's when we will talk about it. But
Yeah.
for the most part, there's no fee to work with me, right?" So, and the good thing too is like you have access to me. You don't have access to the bank on a Sunday or Saturday when
So
you're putting in
true.
offers or at
Very
9
true.
o'clock at night,
Yeah.
right? So just getting back into like the education part, most people don't understand that one piece
Yeah.
alone is gonna potentially help
Yeah.
them buy a home.
I think that's a big,
Yeah.
big struggle in our marketplace
Yeah.
as a whole. Or people are coming in so uneducated,
Yeah.
where you need people like us to come into play and help everyone,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Well, look, I don't know, build a house or fix my plumbing or
Yeah.
Exactly.
pour my foundation because it's not my profession. It's not what I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? I think with our profession more so than the mortgage profession, people think they can do it themselves, which I've always been a firm believer that if you're not a professional in that field, get a professional to do it, especially if the professional's free.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's a no-brainer afterwards.
Yeah.
So I think there's a fear and a stigma attached to a lot of sales in general. Like, okay, yours is maybe not sales, but it is because you
Yeah.
still have to sell yourself and
So I
then
got
sell
to
your
compete
product,
against
right?
other competitors and stuff like that.
So I think there's a stigma with sales, period, where there's a hesitation almost into working with people because they feel like that commitment is something that they don't want to do, right? And I'm sure you experience that as well, that people don't want to commit to just you because they say, oh, I'm going to lose out on options if I work with just you, but they don't realize.
They don't understand that I have all the options, right?
Yeah.
Typically, everyone has the same options that. Like any mortgage broker really has the same type of
It's when you become creative.
access.
That's
Yeah,
the
it's
difference.
right?
just-
Yeah. It's just for myself personally, I can only speak to myself, but I make myself available for my clients, right? Me and Sam had a call, she said, hey, can we do it at this time? Yeah, it was family. I would have still had the call,
Yeah.
right? But we ended up rescheduling.
You make it
but
work, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the
but
biggest thing. I had 2 clients in the last month, put in offers at 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
They called me up, hey Dan, I'm going to be putting in offers tonight. Can you just make yourself available? Put my kids to bed and went
Off to
downstairs.
work.
And my wife understands. She understands the business
good.
that this is not a normal 9 to 5. You're going to have to do things
Yeah.
outside the traditional hours, and but that's going to help the client get a home. I've worked with clients that lost out on homes because they couldn't run numbers with their bank,
Yeah.
right? And they lost out maybe $10,000
Yeah.
more, right? If they would have just went $10,000 more,
Yeah.
they would have got the home,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So just having that availability to,
I've seen it happen
yeah,
too
to
before.
me is that's the biggest feature, right? Even if I don't have the lowest rate, let's say, but I'll be there for you, right? That's
It's a trade-off.
Yeah.
It's a trade-off.
I think that's the biggest stigma out there is going to the bank like immediately, especially for like first-time buyers or people who
Yeah.
haven't really got a mortgage before.
No shot.
Like
I would never.
I recommend 10 of the 10 times to speak with a mortgage agent as well as your bank. I mean, you can
Yeah.
talk to your bank all day long, but I
So
guess
true.
what people don't realize is the bank offers their product and their product only.
Yeah.
Where going to a mortgage broker like yourself, there's other options
Yeah.
for them.
And typically the bank too, if they approve somebody, like let's say I've had a lot of first-time home buyers come to me and say, the bank only told me I can do this, right? But they don't tell you how to get to where you need to be,
Yeah.
right? They don't say, okay, you
That's
need
the
to have
problem.
this down payment, you need to, do this
Improve
with your
your
income.
credit or
yeah.
your income
they
or
just,
whatever.
They do a wish-wash, pre-approval, and that's it.
You're a number.
Yeah.
You're not a person.
Pretty much, right?
I feel like with a broker, they give you like a plan and
Yeah.
steps and strategies to get to where you want to go,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. For
Well,
me
good
personally,
broker,
that's
at
yeah.
least.
For
And
me
that's
personally,
yeah, exactly. And
I
what
do,
we've
like,
seen and what we've worked with.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
pull. Like the thing too is I get all the documents up front, so we have everything. Like we have your income, your down payment,
Yeah.
your credit history, all your debt that you might be paying right now.
Right.
Right. So you get a better outlook, and you can put a better offer out there. With the bank, they typically don't get into documents unless like you ask for like a full pre-approval.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
like a pre-qualification.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like,
they usually
yeah.
just do pre-qualifications for the most part, from what I've seen at least when clients come to
Yeah.
me, and so just being able to have everything up front helps the client a lot better in their search, and if they need to put an offer in, it's a lot quicker process when we have to
Yeah.
get the financing condition fulfilled or whatever, because we have everything ready to go.
Yeah, that's
right.
so true.
we just plug and play all the other documents like the MLS, the APS, and pretty much that's it, right? So it's just, yeah, a lot of people don't understand that the bank, they're great in a sense, like they can pull some strings here and there, but for the most part, if you're working, they're cookie cutter, right? If you're, a realtor, for example, and you don't claim as much income, you're not going to be able to get into an A lender. You have to go on the B side, right? Because we look at your income a little bit differently on the B side, so you can qualify for a lot more. But a lot of realtors still go to their bank, right? So it's just some.
Because a lot of
there's a lot of
realtors are,
education that needs to be
very
put
true.
out there.
Yeah,
still.
It's because a lot of realtors
great
are
area
stupid.
there.
Sorry, it's true.
Yeah.
Sorry, it is.
So there's
it's-
only
it's
a
true.
handful that do well in the business,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
What has been, I'm a big person on challenges because I like to overcome these things. I know you work with a lot of probably first-time home buyers, but do you think income right now is one of the biggest things affecting people from getting approved? Or because you're saying it's not the rates, right? And I think a lot of the stigma in the media and what people are projecting right now is, oh, the rates are the reason why I'm not going to get approved. But like you said, there's so many more factors going into it right now. So what are those factors that are stopping people?
The rates
right?
are,
And
they
prices,
do play. Yeah.
Prices, of course, play a big role too.
Because people are still expecting COVID pricing from when COVID first started, right? They still want the 1.4 for a teardown, right?
Like is the income the issue, right?
Yeah, so it's a bit of both. Like the same income now won't qualify for what it did 2 years ago, right?
Course.
So the thing is, the rates do play a heavy factor into that, because before everyone was qualifying at 5.25, the stress test rate. Now it's whatever your contract rate is plus 2%.
Yeah.
So if you're getting a rate from the bank of, let's say, just 5.5, for example, you actually have to qualify at 7.5. So it eats away a ton at your purchasing power, right? So the rates do play a pretty big factor in that. But like I said, there's a no stress test product, right? So you don't have to qualify at your rate plus 2%. You qualify at the contract rate. So that helps, but that's just, you don't know that if you don't speak to a broker, right? So you don't have those options.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. That's good to know. So
I
didn't know that.
You had just educated us.
Well, I didn't know that. So I didn't know that the stress test rate is what you're pre-approved at.
Yeah. So
I thought the stress test rate was just, hey, we're gonna make sure you can afford it in case it goes up, but you still get the amount that you're looking. Let's say you're looking for.
Yeah. So
but it's not. It's actually, you're gonna get what we approve you at 7% for.
Exactly. That's what you have to qualify at, right? Wow. So that's the qualifying rate, is whatever your contract rate is plus the 2%, right? So when rates, like I've had a couple clients now, rates have come down a little bit on the fixed side. Yeah. So I've had a few clients that were getting approved that, when the rates are at 6% or 5.5. So I redid their whole approval process, and now they're qualifying at 6.99 because we have a few rates that are 4.99. Yeah. And it added like $50,000 roughly to their approval, right? So it's just being upfront and like doing it, almost before they even ask you, right? You run all the numbers for them. Hey, great news, rates have come down. This is your new number, right? Yeah. So some people, they've stepped back because they're like, oh, I can't buy anything with this, right? So if you show them, hey, listen, we got you an extra $50,000, starts getting the juices flowing. Oh, what can I buy now?
And are you more of like a variable guy or a fixed guy?
It's tough to say. I mean, variable, if you can afford a variable right now, it could be the way to go, because if everything is projected the way it's supposed to be, rates are going to be coming down, right? So you can take advantage. You don't have to lock into something for 3 years. You can kind of play a little bit, because we're pretty much at the peak of where rates are going to go. So you can take that risk, right? And then play out the next year and a half and see where it goes. Because if the rates come down, you just lock in at a 3% rate, let's say, or 3.5 or 4. And it's a lot better than 4.99 or 5.5.
That was basically my next question. Where do we see things going now, going forward?
That's the number one question.
Yeah, like I feel like a lot of people are gonna want to know. Okay, so what should my next move be coming from a mortgage broker? Like, should we buy right now, or what do we think the future with the Bank of Canada holds?
I always tell people, like, I did a reel about this. I'm like, oh, let me look into my crystal ball. Because you don't know where rates are going to go, right? Like, we can all hope and all speculate and listen to all the economics and all the banks and what they're saying. But at the end of the day, you have to do what your position or what your finances tell you can do, right? If you can afford to buy now, not buying now is the best time. Right? If you can't afford to buy now, buying in 6 months will be the best time, right? So it's all based on your own personal finances. But in terms of like when the right time to buy is, it's hard to say, because it's all based on you. If you find a house you like, and you can afford it, just take the plunge now.
It's your timing,
right?
yeah.
Like I said before, rates are such a small piece to the buying home puzzle. It's just a tool to get you into the home. You're gonna have multiple rates over the time you own a home,
Yeah.
right? So everyone's always so focused on it, yeah, because I'm focused on my rate because that's what I have to pay. Yes, that's true, but if you can afford the payment, even if you have to suffer a little bit, I know a lot of first-time home buyers, they have to make a little bit of a sacrifice.
Well, on a
change-
5-year fixed, amortized over 30 years, you're gonna have what, six
Probably, yeah,
rate changes?
six, yeah,
roughly,
roughly,
right?
yeah. If you're a first-time home buyer paying less than 25%, you're going to be at a 5.
Yeah.
But obviously, when you start
Right.
building more equity in your home, you're putting more down, right? And there's tons of tools out there too, like a lot of prepayment
Yeah.
options.
Or balloon payment options.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
balloon
can
payments,
pay the mortgage down a lot quicker, right? So a lot of people don't know that they can pay their mortgage off, faster
Faster
than
than-
what the bank or what the amortization.
Even
is
just
at.
by paying bi-weekly.
Yeah.
Pay it off
Takes a little
faster.
bit extra time
That's
off,
true.
right? So I tell people, get into the market when you feel ready, not based on the news or the rates or whatever. It's, if you can afford the payment, you find your house, jump in, right?
Similar
I know
to what we
people.
preach,
I know
Yeah,
people.
that's basically what we say, yeah.
I have clients that are still waiting. It's been 3 years that I've been working with them, and they're still waiting. Rates were low when they first talked to me, and they wanted to wait. Rates are high now, and they're still.
Now they want to wait for them to come down, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
right.
I think also, just a bit of advice, like for people who don't have a mortgage broker, and this is for everybody, like a mortgage broker is going to watch things for you. The minute you hear it on the news, it's kind of too late. Like you're already late to the party. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Your mortgage broker is going to know about this stuff long before you do because
Yeah.
it's their job, right? Similar with us, like when we start to see market trends. As soon as I start to see market trends, I start calling like previous buyers and sellers who I tried to work with who maybe didn't do anything. Hey, like this is the opportunity for you. Like it's coming. I want you to get prepared now because once it hits, you're going to either be late by the time you hear about it or you're going to have missed it or whatever, right? So you got to get somebody who knows what they're doing, a true professional,
Yeah.
I think. And if I could kind of pivot from the perspective of buyers and sellers with mortgage brokers and kind of to the business side of things in terms of something that realtors can kind of use. Off camera, Sam had mentioned that you are a cold calling machine.
Just lead generating in
Or
general.
just a
I
lead
think even
generating
his
machine in general.
So his social media too, and like I think Dan and I started at a similar time,
Yeah.
in a similar place. So you see, our growth is very similar, right? So that's why.
I actually copy Sam once in a
Yeah,
while.
we bounce
I see a
ideas
lot
off
of
of
her
each
reels,
other,
and I'm like,
so-
yeah, I'm gonna use that. That's cool.
Yeah, right. Like, but I do the same, right?
Yeah.
So that's what we're here in the industry to do, and I know where Naz is kind of going with
Well, I
this.
just want to understand
Yeah.
the mindset, right? Because I think a lot of people in both of our businesses and our industries, they tend to not do the things that they need to do to generate business.
Yeah,
right?
the non-negotiables.
The non-negotiables. So, what's the mindset like? Like, listen, you said you've come from a different business into this business, right? So, how did you need a mindset shift? Did anything change for you? Was it a struggle in the beginning and it picked up because your mindset shifted? Like, what was that like for you?
So, it definitely is a mindset. Obviously, like building any type of business or doing anything in life is always like
Right.
just working out is a mindset, right? So, obviously in the beginning you're a little scared, you don't know what the confidence isn't there. So you don't, like for me at least, I didn't feel confident to get out there and start reaching out to people, right? I was kind of like, let me learn everything first and then I'll start, right? So I remember my first deal, like a realtor had called me and I had no idea what I was talking about. But I ended up making the sale, right? I ended up getting the client and I made the sale. Obviously, the deal was perfect. Like I ran everything by my trainer at the time, but it was just, if you just speak with that confidence a little bit, and that's kind of like just the sales background
So true.
trains you a little bit to just speak with confidence and then get the answers later. Like, and yeah, it was just funny thinking back. Like I tell my friends all about it, and they're like, "How did you get that done?" Right? But just in terms of like mindset, I always. It's grown so much being in this business.
Yeah.
You're dealing with so many different things. Clients, going to shopping somewhere else last minute, or they just ghost you, whatever the case is.
of course.
Or you have a deal funded and then they don't want to
Go through with it,
go
yeah.
through with your rate because they found somewhere else online or whatever,
Yeah.
right? So you just gotta have that. if you give up after every no, you're never gonna make it, right? So I heard this quote one time and I live by it. I tell my friends all the time, it's like you can either make excuses or you can make money, but you can't make both, right?
I like
so
That's fire.
that's every time I think of it, I'm like, I could make an excuse right now, or I can, pivot and get to, make another call or whatever the case is, right?
Yeah.
So, I have 2 kids at home. I have a wife. We want to have a great life. I don't want to.
That's good.
Yeah, I want to make sure that they're taken care of in the future, and I don't want them to have the same, struggles that I had growing up. Like
Yeah.
I wasn't like by any means like poor or anything like that. My parents, they struggled to put me in hockey and stuff like that, but I don't want to have the struggles to do stuff.
Well, it sounds like
Yeah.
you have a
with
good
my kids,
why.
right?
Yeah, you
That's
definitely have a
That's
good why.
basically
Yeah.
it, right? So, and my parents, I'm the first one in my family to like have that entrepreneurial spirit,
Have a business
right?
and, like,
Everyone's
yeah.
always been preaching to me job, and for this whole like up until I was probably like 24, I'm 32 now. It was I need to get a good job. I need
Yeah.
to get a good job, right? Now it's just like kind of pivoted my thinking. I'm like, no, I'm not gonna live. I'm gonna have the same life my parents had if I get a job, right? Or my aunts or my uncles. I need to think differently.
You wanted
right?
something a little bit better.
You wanted more for
Exactly.
yourself.
Exactly,
And
right?
you're,
So-
you're proving that,
Yeah.
right? Like you stepped out of the generational norm and you
Yeah.
said, I'm going to do this for myself. I'm going to
Yeah.
build something more for my family, for my kids.
Exactly, and that's my goal is to in the next couple of years have my own brokerage, develop my own team.
Nice.
Be
That's good.
one of the
That's
heavy
good.
hitters in the industry.
Yeah, of course.
Right?
That's good.
So,
Good attitude. You're definitely headed that way. I think that's a really good
That's awesome.
segue into our
yeah.
favorite and final question of the
The
day.
best question of the day.
I'm going to let Nick take this one over.
So Daniel, what makes you the real deal?
I've been waiting for this one.
That's what everybody says.
I mean, in my industry, there's so many competitors, right? But I think what sets me apart and gets me built where I've been able to build great relationships with people is just being there for them. Like I mentioned before, the availability. Like I feel like not too many people do it. I talk to a lot of realtors and like, yeah, I can't get a hold of my mortgage guy after a certain hour, right? And I make sure that I'm taking care of your clients because at the end of the day, if I don't take care of your clients, you're not going to use me again.
No.
Right? So
true.
the way I try to set myself apart from everyone else is I'll be there for you. Availability. Let's talk about different products, educating you guys, because if you guys get educated on different products, you can position that to your clients because your clients come to you guys first.
Yes.
Right? And then they come to us
So true.
with referrals, right? So if you guys can talk to these clients about certain products, that's going to help you guys not only build your business, but help you, help your clients get into a home quicker, right? So my whole thing is I'm just like, I asked Sam, like the first time I met with Sam, I remember it was in her office in
I don't even
where was
remember.
it? It was Woodbridge. It was in
Was it Royal LePage or Remax?
Royal LePage,
I don't know,
yeah.
I've been around.
So we met there, and it was just all about education. She was brand new in the business. She didn't really know much, and I was just helping educate her and her. I think it was Julian at the time.
Yeah.
And then we just based on that, we built a great relationship, and now it's come to where we
4 or
where we are
5
now.
5 years later almost. Yeah, it's
right.
crazy.
So, what makes me the real deal is just I'll be there for my clients. I'll make sure that they get the best service. A lot of the time, people come to me and they're not ready to buy, or the bank told them they're not ready to buy, but I get them. I put a plan in place for them to get them to where they need to be to buy.
That's really
That's important.
I've had a lot of clients come to me and they're not confident. They're like, I don't know what I can afford. I don't know, what to do to buy a home. And after, a conversation with me, 2 conversations, texting me, they're ready to buy a home. I had a client, it was recently actually. They went from not feeling confident to buying, and they bought a home a week later.
Wow.
Right? They were working with the bank. They were only approved for a certain amount. I'm like, did you even run your numbers properly? Like, no, they didn't do a credit check, nothing. So I'm like, okay, let's get everything on paper. Let's make sure that we know what we need to do and where we need to start. Sure enough, we worked. I got them done a pre-approval within a couple hours. And yeah, they bought their home 4 or 5 days later, and
Beautiful.
yeah,
We,
they're
us as
extremely happy.
realtors, love mortgage
Yeah,
brokers
see?
like you. Realtors like us love mortgage
Yeah.
brokers like you.
Call Dan,
Trust
please.
me. Trust me.
So yeah, it's just being there for my clients. I'm really big on customer service, and I feel like if you're able to build a
Shows, yeah.
relationship as well with your clients,
Yeah.
they'll be lifelong clients, not just a transaction to them, right?
It's very, very true.
Yeah.
Definitely ace that answer.
Yeah, that was great. That was really good. Okay, Dan, well, this was an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for your time.
I appreciate it.
You educated me, I know, immensely,
All
all
of
of
us.
us today. We learned a lot with you. I
Yeah.
hope our listeners can learn too. And we're going to have all your contact information below. Best way to get in touch with you?
Get approved by Dan on Instagram. Yeah, it's pretty much, you can see all my content.
We'll
You
put
can
it
see
below for
everything.
you.
There's a lot of good videos I put on there to, just help educate people. And
Awesome.
some of them
Yeah,
are
they are
funny,
pretty
some
good.
of them are more educational. But it's just to get someone to reach out if they're in need when they're buying a home.
Beautiful.
Amazing.
Yeah. Awesome.
Until next time.
Until next time.
That's the real deal.
That's the real deal.